So, here. Just going to start by acknowledging that we are on witchable, viable land. This unceded land here, part of the Buntalung Nation, this incredible country. That we pay respects to the elders of the past and the present, and their deep knowledge and their deep care that extends back into deep times of looking after this country for us, and what we must undertake to do, which is to do better and possibly to listen more and talk less. So I'm just going to pass to Nayisha, who's going to do a little grounding exercise.
Hi everybody, my name's Nayisha and I'm from Head to Health. Can I have your hands raised for people that know about Head to Health? Fantastic, okay, that's a lot of people. So it's a free mental health service support for 18 plus year olds. We have psychologists, social workers, mental health workers, peer workers, groups, access to the gym. We have all different holistic services to support people's mental health. So I've left some flyers, some of these, up at the desk up there, so please help yourself. I'll be around as well if you'd like to talk with me. And please take some pens. We will be changing our name, February. It's a government thing. Do you want to know what it's going to be called?
That's terrible.
It's Medicare Mental Health Centre. Sorry, but it's Head to Health still. Nothing changes at all. It's just a name. So please take pens. They'll be worth money in about another 5 years' time. So what I thought I'd do is just start off with a very light sort of breathing and grounding exercise. So if you're comfortable, to just close your eyes or have them downcast and just to land in this room where we are today. And I'd like you to take a couple of deep breaths, breathing in through the nose and breathing out through the mouth. In through the nose and out through the mouth. Landing into the space that you are here right now. And if you're comfortable, breathing in to the count of 3 and breathing out to the count of 4. Please adjust this if this is too much. You can breathe into 2, breathe out to 3. But just breathing into 3 and out 2, 3, 4. Back in 2, 3. Breathing out 2, 3, 4. Another 2 times in your own time. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Wonderful. And just feeling your feet on the floor. If you can, press your feet. You know, we're a bit of pressure, so you can see I'm here. I'm supported by Mother Earth. Maybe you feel your bum, your back against the chair. You can lean back a little bit, just to remind yourself you're here in this space. This is something you can do throughout any day. Your breath is here all the time. Well, until the day comes, of course. But so you can anchor yourself through using your breath. And now we're going to do a short 5 senses, using your 5 senses exercise. So this is for when you might feel some strong emotions or thoughts, you might feel hooked into them. This is the short exercise that you could do. So I'd like you to look around the surroundings and just name to yourself 5 things that you can see. And just taking note of the colour, shape, texture, height, or width. So 5 things you can see in as much detail as possible. Not judging it in any way, allowing it to be. And if your mind wanders off, that's okay, that's what our minds do. Just coming back again to the exercise. And now naming 4 things that you can hear. This can be sounds, subtle, could be your own stomach, could be your own breath. 4 things that you can hear. It's a lot quieter all of a sudden. Now 3 things that you can touch or feel. So this can be your body sitting in the chair. It can be the clothes that are on your body. It can be the feet that are touching the floor. 3 things that you can touch or feel. Could even be the hair on your head. And now turning your attention to the smells in the environment. 2 things that you can smell. Could be food, paper, could be someone's perfume, could be your own sense or somebody else's. And now just 1 thing that you can taste. Could be the drink that you've been having, could be food, could be toothpaste. 1 thing that you can taste. So this is a short grounding exercise to help you to bring yourself into the present moment, and it's something that we can do anywhere. In a meeting, in a toilet, so it might not be that pleasant. But that's the actual thing too, we're not judging it as pleasant or unpleasant, it is what it is. So that's just 1 exercise that you could use throughout your whole, rest of your life of grounding and anchoring back into the present moment. So thank you for listening to me. I'll be around if anyone wants to have a chat about Get to Help as well. Thank you.
Hello. I would like to invite you all to step up. And give yourself a crack. And take a deep breath in. And move it out. Another deep breath in. And move it out. This time, when you let your breath out, make a sound. Now, this time we're going to complicate it sound. We're going to go sounded pretty good. You're almost a choir. Would you like me to teach you a song?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I'll give you the words while they're going around. I'll teach you the tune. The tune is. Step by step along this march. Now sing that after me. Step by step along this march. And be one. Many stones to fill the march. Many stones to fill the march. just one. Step by step along this march, can be one, can be one. Many stones to fill the march, not just one, can be done. And by union what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn, not just one, singly none. It's actually around. Just get it. Who's next? Back to me.
Yeah, right. So, oh, okay, you're all here, and I'm wondering, and we're wondering, how you found out about this session. Is there anybody here who came to the last one? Okay, a few. What about somebody who heard it from somebody else, word of mouth? Poster around town? Somebody saw a poster. I thought it was okay, that poster thing was pretty good.
I love the poster.
Love the poster, said the wonderful person in the third row. What about social media? Yeah, social media. 3. Other ways. Oh, flyers in the letterbox. Fantastic, great.
I saw a flyer at the chemist.
Saw a flyer at the chemist. This is good and useful information for us. So the aim of this event is to support the empowerment of us, individuals, families, neighbourhoods, the community, to prepare now for future disasters. And we want to do that by bringing the community together to share information, to build connections and practice talking together and figuring things out together. So tonight we first are going to hear from a range of speakers who've got really good information about being prepared. And they've got different experience, perspectives and knowledge, and after each speaker there'll be a short Q&A for a few general questions from each speaker. And then after that we're going to, so actually the last speaker is a member of Reclaim Our Recovery. He's going to talk very briefly about a policy that we have come up with about raising houses, mainly in South Lismore. So after that, we always like to have eating at a meeting. So after that, we've got food, and everybody's welcome to share. And during that time, we've also got an opportunity to you all to have informal conversations with some people who volunteered to be facilitators, and they are going to either have a blue scarf or they're going to put their hands up. Those people. So they're really great. Just letting you know. So first we've got the speakers. We can learn some stuff. We've got paper on the tables while you're listening. You can write some stuff down. You can write questions. You can write comments on the paper or the post-its. Then we will have that break for dinner. But during that time, an opportunity to continue to have conversations with each other and with these people who volunteer to be facilitators and take some notes from that. And the reason we want to start gathering information because we are having a second event in 2 weeks, which will gather all this information and see if we can prioritise actions that we want to take and need to take as communities. So also just be aware that we have a photographer people, 1, 2. So if you are okay with your photo being taken or being filmed, otherwise let yourself be known to those people here. I think that's probably it, and I've probably taken too much time, so I'm going to pass over to Jonathan.
Me again. Got another song? Okay, our first speaker is Scott McClennand from SES. And after he's going to speak for about 5 minutes, then there'll be some time to ask questions. Now, Scott is going to stick around for the food. Are you? Yep. And he will be available to answer questions while we're eating. So, this first lot of questions, just try and keep them general and fairly short. And if you want to have a detailed discussion with Scott, he will be here. Now, Scott says he needs no introduction because he spends a lot of time on television. Over to Scott.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, I'm Superintendent Scott McClennand from New South Wales Emergency Service. For those of you who saw me last week or even this week on TV, I do apologise. I've kept my glasses. They're the orange ones. Yes, it's not serious. You don't have to panic. They're not blue. Tonight, it's all about making safe decisions in timely manners. So, the New South Wales SES, we do use the Australian warning system that we adopted. We have been constantly refining this program, and we have listened. Last month we held a committee meeting right in this location, some friendly faces in the crowd tonight, and we have identified certain locations that we are renaming to ensure that you actually make the right decisions about where you live. One of those locations, for example, is Duck Pond, which is just over there, and they will get a particular location and you'll be able to see it on the map. Who here has Hazards Near Me downloaded on your mobile device? Okay, some of you. Who here does not have Hazards Near Me downloaded on your device? May I suggest that you now take the moment and download Hazards Near Me. Either Rick, the Deputy Unit Commander for the Lismore City, or Ed, the man who knows everything about floods in Lismore, and myself, we can help you download and set your watch zones. Hazards Near Me is where all your warnings will come. And you can set as many locations as you want. It covers floods, it covers storms, it covers fires, and it will cover coastal erosion and snow. So if you're travelling anywhere in New South Wales, it will cover all those hazards in New South Wales. We are working with our other partners, partner agencies around the country to ensure that it's one app for the whole country, and we're getting closer and closer with that as well. Particularly for those of us that live on borders, whether it be this border or the other border to the south. It's important that we have one simple message that everyone understands and can make the right decisions. Download Hazards Near Me. We have 3 warning levels. There is the yellow warning level. The yellow warning level is the advice. Just be informed. Easy. Just take notice. Be alert. Don't be alarmed. The orange level is watch and act. That means we're asking you to do something. So that means something's going on and we're asking you to do something. Either prepare to be isolated, prepare to evacuate, or just avoid the area. If it goes red, something's gone wrong and you need to either evacuate now, move to higher ground, or shelter in place. 3 symbols: yellow, orange, red. Nice and simple. Now this week, you probably noticed it's been quite hectic with the weather. So Mother Nature's having a moment. She's like that. She's allowed to. She's menopausal. So the storms that are coming, it's normal for this time of year for us. This is storm season. So the storms that have come through on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we were expecting a storm today. It missed Lismore, thankfully. It's now just being downgraded and it's actually moving off to sea, which is good. Tomorrow we're not going to get a storm. Saturday it's going to get windy, which means everything that's wet is going to get blown over. Sunday and Monday we're going to get more storms. With all the wind that's been around, that means our gutters are now full of leaves. Our drains are full of leaves. So please take the time to clean those. Just run around, check the properties. If you've got a Hidachi tree, they drop their branches like nothing else. A Hidachi. Lots of other trees have lots of dead branches. Make sure you clean those. The biggest jobs that we've had this week, so volunteers from right throughout the region over the last week we've been attending approximately 191 incidents right across the region. The last 24 hours alone, we've attended 91 incidents. Majority of those have been here in Lulham. Federal last night got slammed by the storm as well. So we have our volunteers, our wonderful team in orange, are the ones who go out, put tarps on roofs. We're still trying to fix up, people have been away, we're still trying to fix up some broken skylights from the hailstorm that went through a couple of weeks ago. People have come back from being overseas and realised they're now growing grass in the middle of their house. So we're helping them to repair some of those and stop any further damage happening. So take the time now to be prepared. Take the time now to learn what your risks are and take the time now to mitigate whatever those risks are. That's my 5 minutes. I don't have much more. Any weird, wonderful questions? One weird, wonderful question?
I'm wondering whether the SES has the capacity, perhaps with the help of the council, to kind of have a register of people who will have difficulty evacuating or are more vulnerable in those.
A list of vulnerable people?
Yeah.
So there are a couple of, we work with lots of other organisations, so we don't want to hold that list because it changes constantly, number one. Number two, the NDIS, My Aged Care, keeping people in their homes. They have the list already, if they know who they are. When we're warning, they need to do that. There's also a program called PSEC, so Person-Centred Emergency Planning. Everyone should make sure that they have their plans in place. If they need to move early, we'll make those decisions. What happened out west in the last 3 weeks with the weather situation, the electricity situation, you also need to start thinking about being prepared when you lose power, whether it's a brownout or whether it's an electricity outage. You need to make those decisions. And energy companies will run around and try and find generators for people who are on life support. But we're asking people to take precautions and be prepared for themselves and their vulnerable peoples. You have a question or a statement?
One thing I would really like to see more of too is also as an opportunity for the platform where you are now, encourage people to join the SES and be volunteers. They need as many passionate people that can help do this task. Because, you know, we can't rely on the same people all the time. It's an aging demographic at the SES, but it'd be really nice to see a lot more people wanting to step up, younger people. If you don't currently have a job, we're looking for, you know, working effective as a team. It's a very rewarding thing to do. So I urge you to join SES and support local.
Thank you. Don't have a volunteer, but that's okay. We volunteer. We have a unit based here in Lismore. It's around in, I don't know how to get there. Cost me there. We have a unit there and they service the whole of the LGA. We also have a range of community action teams and we teach lots of skills. So we'll teach you how to climb a ladder, we'll teach you how to use a chainsaw, if that's what your thing is. You don't have to be, you can be an indoor volunteer like me, run towards TV cameras, or you can do a whole range of other different types of skills and we will work with you to upskill. So yes, do join us.
Could you just clarify what you meant by changing names and locations, like you said the duck ponds?
So some of the words that we use outside the levy, we used the phrase outside the levy in the last event, and we worked out quite quickly, thanks to the wonderful world that is, that outside the levy is most of Lismore. So we need to be a bit more specific. So that particular area as well, that's now known as Coleman's Point, Lismore. So there's a whole, and that you start seeing some, we'll work with Lismore app, and we'll work with the local media to ensure that those names are starting to be communicated. We don't put people's addresses in the warnings, we put the street names and we actually identify the locations, just to make it a bit more identifiable to what the people who live there are. So if you've got suggestions, if you're willing to listen.
So is that only in the app or is that in the copy world? Will there be?
There is a hard copy world.
But
And
is there signs around?
no, we don't use the signs. Council use the signs on our behalf. But we use the app, number one, we use social media, number two, and we actually can, if you want to, we can actually email you directly the warning itself. One last question, otherwise I'm going to get off the stage. I can feel the presence coming.
Sorry, it's two part question, but in 2022 there was the failing of the early warning system, so is that in place and how many hours have we got and how many votes have we got down?
So the question of votes is a weird, wonderful question. It seems to be wonderful all the time. We've got lots of votes. We need more drivers.
Qualified people.
We will train you how to drive the boat, but we would like you to join the SES and become a qualified boat operator. Come on, you can do it. We do have a lot of boats, and we do work with a whole range of partners. Yes? Hang on, I will leave that question for Georgina to answer when she stands on stage.
One thing I found quite surprising too, I don't know if you've seen it, there's quite a large gap in the generation who don't know actually how to swim. So one of the things I'm wondering about for preparedness and safety for those vulnerable people, what is the SES doing to ensure that those people who have no chance in hell of getting out of swimming if they had to help those people who most vulnerable in our community?
So there are a range of services that teach you to swim. So one of those is Royal Life Saving. Royal Life Saving is the group like Surf Life Saving, but they work in the never bronze medals. They will teach people how to swim. There's been a couple of case examples. We're also working with cold communities, people who've actually immigrated to Australia, and with the Surf Life Saving, they will actually, to prevent drownings, they will work with different types of communities, whether it's men only, women only, depending on the cultures. And there's a whole range of cold community projects teaching people how to swim from cold communities. That's working very well with the Surf Life Saving. Our role is not to teach people how to swim, we can only encourage you to learn how to swim. Swimming in floodwaters is very different. Don't go in floodwaters, don't drive, walk, swim or play in floodwaters. It's dirty and dangerous, and they have lots of snakes and other yucky things. Surf Life Saving can teach you to swim. I'm getting kicked off.
Well, don't really want to kick anybody off, Scott also will be hanging around, so if you've got questions later as well. Our next speaker is Robert Kelly from Resilient Lismore. Probably also doesn't need an introduction to many. Is this right? Are you the logistics and volunteer manager?
I am. I have the blue glasses, so different than the orange glasses, and I'm hoping that everyone can hear me with a microphone being at this system. So lots of familiar faces, and I'd like to thank everyone for organising this. It's a great opportunity for our community once again coming together. Also give my apologies on behalf of Ellie, that doesn't need any introduction. She's down in Melbourne, flew down today once again to talk about our community and about preparing and planning for future events. She's been a really strong advocate along with the board to get Resilient Lismore to where it is now, along with our team members that include our volunteers and our staff. So I take my hat off every day to everyone who contributes towards what makes up Resilient Lismore. So I've been thrown in here yesterday and this afternoon about 1 o'clock. Ellie said, "This is what I want you to talk about." And I was like, "Ooh, okay." So as we move into our next phase, which everyone is, it's all about preparing and planning. We know that, we understand that, and we are doing our best as a community organisation to be able to remobilise again if needed. So we have been working on our evacuation plan for the last 2 and a bit years. We're really happy at where we're at with it, which is a fantastic opportunity for our team to feel safe and secure, knowing that we can mobilise again after an event. So we share SES's thoughts and ideas about getting the hazard apps on your phone. It's really important that as individuals we're all prepared. And that information comes from a source of agencies that are out there to protect us. So please, as you were asked, put it on your phones as soon as possible. So our plan as a community organisation is that we're going to move out of the floodplain as soon as possible. We've got some fabulous shipping containers that we'll be taking with us that will house all our equipment, and we'll be able to move out of the current building and mobilise again in a safer location. As we saw in 2017 and 2022, social media was amazing for us. Next was the word of mouth, and we were able to capture people's needs and provide support once it was safe for us to go back in. In 2017, we were up and running for 3 weeks, and we were exhausted, and we were really tired, and we patted ourselves on the back, and we gave all our equipment away, and thought, wow, we've done an amazing job. Well, nearly 2.5 years later, we're still out there in the community, and believe it or not, still cleaning people's houses, still helping to repair them, to stay in their homes. So once we've left the floodplain and found a location to go into, which is under negotiation at the moment, we'll set up our teams to be able to take those calls in and to be able to get impact from the social media. And we'll start planning with our team members how we're going to go out and put those papers into practice, so all practices into place, which is really important. We want to look after the equipment that Resilient Lismore has either been donated or purchased. This is community assets, and there are a lot of community assets that we have the privilege of holding. So if you know people that need community assets like journeys, blowers, generators, you can always check with Resilient Lismore and see if we've got them. We've had to mobilise back in the central part of the CBD as soon as possible. We believe that being in the CBD is really important for everyone, and also having a place that we can meet regularly is essential for what we provide. We know that disasters are better when we all work together, and that's including all the government agencies, all the organisations, all the NGOs, all the small community hubs. A year and a half ago, we enabled a group of NGOs and community hubs to come together, and we're called the Northern Rivers Community Alliance. We meet regularly, and what we're doing is sharing our resources, sharing our training, sharing our tools, and I urge anyone who's here from an NGO or a community hub to jump on the website and look up the Northern Rivers Community Alliance. It's a really important tool and group of people to be connected up with. Other ways that we're supporting our community, and we invite you to participate in any of those, and please give me the look when my minutes are running out, is our workshops. So we have a lot of workshops that are provided to the community, not only that we run, but also that other agencies and organisations come and hold out at our little hub. But the most important workshops we do is that gaining skills on using tools. That is such an empowering place to be when you know how to use a drop saw, when you know how to use a petrol burning, when you know how to drill up cork flute into people's windows. It's just a great opportunity. They're all free, and we run them out of a hub. So please jump on our website and have a look at the upcoming workshops that are offered. And they're anything from building to plastering to painting to mucking out people's houses. So please feel free to explore those different options that we've got. We've got a great tool library, as I said, community assets owned by the community under the auspice of Resilient Lismore. So we're just about to share with the big wide world our tool library under our new website. So have a look at that. Most of the tools there are free to use. There are some that need a bit of a deposit put on them because they're valued. We've got value behind them. So really like to do that. And the other thing that we do at the hub is we provide opportunities for training. So if you feel like you'd like to get some additional training, and that could include first aid, that could include compassionate training, please feel free, as I said, to jump on the website and see what's on offer.
Is that, what website's that, just a Resilient?
Yeah, that's just a Resilient Lismore. In 2025, we're going to be working with our community to roll out some evacuation plans for NGOs and businesses across Lismore. That's a really exciting space for us to be in. We know that there's a lot of NGOs and businesses that don't have evacuation plans in place that they can stand up. They either haven't got the resources, they haven't got the time, they haven't considered it. Lismore roll them out. We're also rolling out with other organisations individual plans. As we heard, the PSEP plan, which is your personal centred plan, and training will be available for that as well. It's really important that we have ourselves, our neighbours and other members of the community. So I think that's it. How was that? So I pretend to be Ellie.
There is time for a couple of questions. 5 minutes, so you've got to get back here now. Come on.
Quick question with the CEP. So when will that be available for organisations?
So we really urge you to just jump on their website, PSEP website, because you can just get that instigated straight away yourself as an organisation. We've got some of the bigger services using it already and implementing it. We've got a few team members that have already done the training.
Can we refer to this more for them for clients that they read? Like have a training, like go to a training session?
Refer to Social Futures.
Social media.
Yeah. Yeah. Refer to Social Futures. In 2025, we intend to continue doing what we need to do to prepare ourselves as individuals, but hopefully the community. We really urge you to reach out to the agencies on board. Have a look at PSEP training, have a look at the Ready Plan from Red Cross, connect up with the SES, and they're the ways together that we'll be able to prepare ourselves for future events. Does that answer? I think working together, the different agencies and with council, that's going to enable us to feel a little bit more prepared. We don't know what's around the corner, whether it will be a 2017 flood, landslide, or a 2022 flood. Or 16 metre.
Yeah, and it's also possible for, if you've got a particular question, to stay behind after as well. Okay.
Just very quickly, I'm the Lismore City Council, so I can answer the question about the council. We've got Cameron Jewell, who's our strategic planner. We just adopted the new flood risk management plan. The old one was out of date, should have been updated many years ago and it wasn't. That's a step forward. But now the strategic planner Cameron Jewell was saying they're looking at flood awareness activities next year. Something that I'm personally looking into is making sure we get our last road out signage and when they cut off at what flood level, because that currently doesn't exist anywhere, and that I don't think is good practice. So the council is doing things behind the scenes. You've also got Georgina here from Lismore City Council that you can also have a chat to as well about some of the things council's doing behind the scenes.
Yep. Any other questions? No? Thank you.
And guess what? And guess who is the next speaker, actually? Georgina Burgess from Lismore City Council is our next speaker. I don't have a little intro or bio to read, but...
I got a bio in the presentation.
Yeah, she's on it. Okay. Minute.
Georgina Burgess, Lismore City Council Emergency Management Coordinator. Thank you for inviting me tonight, this evening. It's very nice to see a few familiar faces like Annie, Brazil, Lismore, and SES. I'll get started with a little intro about myself. First, acknowledgement of the country. I would like to acknowledge that we're a Untitled nation, land of the Witcher-born Wild people, and I respect my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. On a personal note, I will also like to say that First Nations people never ceded sovereignty of the land. So I come from New Zealand. I'm not originally from New Zealand, but I lived there for 10 years. And so I'd like to start with a small cut here. And it's rough translation in English. Kia hora te marino, kia whakapapapona mo te moana. Ke huarahi mā tātou I te rangi nei. Aroha atu, aroha mai, tātou ia tātou katoa. Haumie, huie, tai ie. So this is me. I'm the new emergency management coordinator, as I said before. My background is I'm an environmental planner and environmental scientist. I have over 12 years now of emergency management experience. I'm 34, by the way, so do the math. And I specialize in natural hazards. My recent professional experience, as I said before, was working in New Zealand. For the last 10 years, I worked as a regional flood liaison officer for Waikato Regional Council. I worked as intelligence planning officer, logistics officer as well, for Civil Defence New Zealand, National Emergency Management Agency New Zealand, so NEMA New Zealand. And I'm also a researcher at the University of Waikato in New Zealand, and I research extreme rainfall and the frequency analysis. And I will continue to be so until 2026 when my funding runs out. I'm also a marine oil spill responder for Maritime New Zealand. This is State Highway 25A in the Coromandel Peninsula last year following Cyclone Gabrielle. I'm no stranger to disasters. This followed severe weather events. Basically, we had 2 cyclones happening within a month, and in between we have an atmospheric river, which is exactly what happened in 2022 here. This is Hawke's Bay. As you can see, the flooding extent was quite severe. Also, this was following Cyclone Gabrielle. That's one of the many houses that got restickered, so basically set for demolition following Cyclone Gabrielle. In New Zealand, we also have the added issue of landslides, which you have here in the Lismore LGA as well, but we have a massive problem with silt in New Zealand. GNS, which is the Geological Society of New Zealand and Nuclear Sciences of New Zealand. They do everything earth sciences, volcanology, earthquakes. They mapped following Cyclone Gabrielle 800,000 landslides just in the North Island. So what is emergency management? So emergency management means different things to different people. It is defined and regulated by the SERM Act, which is the State Rescue and Emergency Management Act. Emergency management is basically all of agencies, all of community coming together. It is a shared responsibility. Everyone is responsible for emergency management. Community, NGOs,
community partners, state agencies, local agencies, government bodies, everyone is responsible for emergency management. And I'll speak more of that later on. But basically, emergency management is founded on the principles of prevention, preparedness, response, and recovery. You can't do that one without the other. It needs to be a whole cycle, and it needs to be done well. So yeah, prevent, like the word says so, is to eliminate or reduce the threat or the risk. Prepare, make sure that we are as prepared as we can. Respond, which is what people normally associate with emergency management. So emergency management is not just people going on boats and rescue people, right? That's just 10% of what we actually do. And then recover, and that's another thing that people often associate with after an event. Actually, recovery starts at the same time that a response is triggered. So as you see people jumping boats to rescue people, we also set up a recovery committee and started the recovery process, and what does that look like, and who do we need to call in. So you must be wondering what is council's role in emergency management? I get this question all the time, and I have to find out by myself, really, because emergency management arrangements in New South Wales are fundamentally different to those in New Zealand. So New Zealand is more akin to Queensland, so council does a lot of the things that SES or BOM does. Here in New South Wales is different, but we still have an important role to play as council. So we work, of course, in collaboration with agencies. It's not just government agencies. We often meet with community partners. Here in Lismore, we have a community resilience network. We have quarterly meetings. We come up with plans, things that need resolving, things that we can improve, things like preparedness, awareness, gauges, you name it, we talk about it. As per the CERM Act, council is required to appoint a LEMO, and you may have heard about a LEMO before. LEMO stands for Local Emergency Management Officer, and normally this is a role that is added onto someone else's role. So let's say I was, the head of roads, right? I get paid for being head of roads, and that's it. And then someone comes to me and tells me, do you want to be a LEMO? And then I'll be like, yeah, all right, yeah, I'll take it. You don't get paid for it. And you need to do extra hours, and that's an added responsibility, of course, to have, the emergency management component of it added onto your BAU role. So, that is normally what is mandated by the CERM, and we don't get any financial contribution for people to take on that responsibility. During an emergency, so LEMOs basically are council's representatives at the local emergency management committee, which is basically a committee, which is a group of government agencies, and we meet quarterly, actually it's 3 times a year for the northern revision.
Like 1 more minute?
Oh.
Could you let us know what's happening for our preparedness community?
Well, sorry?
What's going to happen for us as a community council?
Yeah, so what do we do with emergency management? So we have business continuity plans. So basically, council has 3 main responsibilities, right? So let's just split it up in 3. Business continuity, like any other business or agency, we must remain functioning. Second responsibility is the delivery of critical services. So think water, waste, roads, right? And the third one is to support combat agencies like SES in case of a flood,
or the local emergency management committee, or Leopon, which is the controller for an emergency. We support them with people, resources, and facilities. So this is mainly what we do. We also have a responsibility when it comes to flash flooding warnings in those catchments where BOM doesn't have any gauges. So it's basically like a look and see situation. In the case of Lismore, we also manage the levy. So it's important to know that Rouse County Council, they own the levy, we operate and maintain it. And I'm not going to go into my role. The Lismore levy, so basically we have a levy that was built 20 years ago. It protects 1 in a 10-year event, which is nothing, right? We are in a floodplain in the confluence of 2 rivers. Floodplains are formed by previous floods, historical floods that were here before we were even here. So these places will continue to flood, and it will do so quite badly, actually. The levy only gets rid of those very annoying small-scale floods, right? The flood, it's basically, so if we go to the next slide, it's 1.8 kilometers long. It's got an earthen in a concrete wall, and we also have a bunch of pump stations and floodgates. Now, when we're talking about the levy, it's a major piece of engineering infrastructure, and going back to previous questions before, it doesn't work on an hourly basis. So it depends on how much rain falls within a certain period of time. So it works on rainfall intensities. So if we're talking about 1 in a 10-year event intensity rainfall, yeah, it's not gonna overtop. If we're talking about what happened in 2022, it's not going to protect you. So yeah, it has 2 sections. Oh, sorry. So yeah, it is designed to protect 1 in a 10-year event. So these gates, these pump stations, they work in sequence and they work on water levels. So again, how long does it take to reach that water level? It depends on how much it rains and what's coming from upstream, and whether it's coming from Leicester Creek or if it's coming from the Wilsons. It depends on a variety of factors. This is science, this is hydrology. Yeah.
You need to mention the South Lismore levy as well. We are sandwiched between 2 levy.
What's there?
There is the South Lismore levy.
Yes.
We are sandwiched between 2 levies. That's lovely.
Yeah. 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 I agree. So, as you can see, we closed the first gate 4 meters. It's important to know that, you know, if you see us closing the car parks, just understand that it's a logistical nightmare for us to close the gates from the cars in the car park. So it doesn't mean that we're opening any gates or we're shutting any gates, simply from a logistical perspective, because also from an emergency management point of view, council does traffic management, and it supports combat agencies with evacuation routes by redirecting traffic and prioritizing emergency service vehicles. You need to understand that it is a logistical undertaking for council to be calling vehicle owners and ask them to please move their vehicles to so we can shut the gates. So if you see us doing that, we normally do it in the middle of the night just because the car park is clear. But you know, it doesn't mean that we're opening any gates or we're shutting any gates. It just means that we're just getting prepared just in case.
If I could make a suggestion, because I know we're just winding up, if you could just go over how we're going to find what flood level is going to impact their address, where that is on the council website.
Oh yeah, yeah. Actually, in fact, in this share, yeah. If you just go on Google, you go on Google and you type water right, Lismore, water ride. Lismore? Yeah, sorry, it's my accent. Water ride. Yeah, so that's basically our, this is the modeling, the hydraulic modeling that was done following 2022 floods. So if you go onto this drop-down menu, you will see there's a 100-year, I don't like that language, I prefer one AEP, because people often think that 100-year event is not going to happen for the next 100 years. That's not the case. It's just a probabilistic. Yeah. Okay. Cool. But yeah, you can see the flood event extent for 2022, and you can get a flood certificate. And so if you just enter your address in there, it will tell you. So for instance, here we're at 26 Fulton.
It's not instant on, you have to wait for
Oh, okay. 26 Fulton?
25.
Oh. But yeah, you can select the address, right? And then you enter your email address and you will receive a certificate that basically says the floor planning levels in, for your property.
It takes a little while for it to come. This takes a little while for it to come through for your email. It's not instantly. When you put your address in, you have to wait for it to come through.
I've tried it myself. It maybe takes 5 minutes. Yeah.
And that's where you will find information
Oh, sorry.
about what level the flood will come up to in your house in a typical smaller event, a 2017 size event, or a 2022 event. It's really important information to be aware of what your address is and what type of flood level might impact that address.
Sorry, they're kicking me out. Yeah. But I'm safe for dinner. So if you have any questions, and I'm so sorry, like I obviously didn't realize how long I was going to take. But I'm safe for dinner, so if you have any questions, I'm happy to chat to you guys.
Thank you, Georgina. So Georgina will be here for dinner, so any more questions to her you can ask her while you have a sausage. And the sausages are why we need to keep moving on, because we don't really want to eat them cold. Well, I don't anyway. Next, we have Annie Keir from the People's Catchment. I'm not sure. Do I need to introduce Annie? Yes.
She might have to introduce herself.
Hi everyone. Thank you everyone for organising this. Fantastic skills in the groups that have organised this. It's really evident. Thank you SES, Georgina and everyone else who is involved in keeping us safe. So I've just got a couple of maps, because I have to have maps to talk about the People's Catchment, and a couple of photos of humans involved in the People's Catchment. So this is an image of the Coorong Valley just south of the Channel, where I live. And a lot of people nearly died where we live, and there are a lot of houses really wrecked and some completely destroyed. And this is, the People's Catchment is a citizen flood intelligence project, which I'm about to explain. So it's a citizen flood monitoring system. It's been developing in the Terania sub-catchment since 22, and we have a partnership with the ANU. And a grant, they have just got a disaster ready grant, which allows further development of this project. And we have Yukai, Mainam and Ugara joining the People's Catchment as we develop it further. Ugara was that town in the central west, I think it's central west of New South Wales, that was completely smashed by a devastating flood. 2 people were killed and about 250 houses were destroyed. So it's really nice to have them involved too. The project also involves, it involves humans who we call sentinels. They are rain sentinels. They make a commitment. When we start with a flood event or a rain event, our sentinels put up their hands and say, yes, I'll do the job. We have them scattered around the sub-catchment, and they make frequent observations during the rain event They put their data in a spreadsheet. We share the spreadsheet with the SES, and the SES have made a commitment to provide a warning to us in the Shannon and Kirrong Valley. And also, obviously, because we're upstream on the Leicester, in the tributary of the Leicester Creek, obviously the more data we have for where we are, the better it is for people in Lismore, because there's more data. The project also involves development of an open source smart sensor network, which is very innovative. I won't talk about it here, but that image we currently are developing it through a collaboration between Greg Hall, and I'm sure some people might remember that Greg Hall and his partner Susie put on Trees Not Bombs Cafe in Lismore for many months, just brilliant people. As it turns out, Greg Hall got himself involved with us at the Shannon. He's a kind of a genius person. And through his collaboration with the ANU, we have about 6 of these prototypes, which you're looking at one here, deployed around Canberra at the moment. That's just the first iteration, and we're about to test them in our difficult terrain in our sub-catchment. So this is where I got involved. I knew nothing about flood monitoring in the beginning of 22. When the second flood was starting, I was really worried about the people in the Kirrong Valley. We'd been supporting them in our emergency centre, and I knew they had zero information for what was coming down towards them. So I went down, I thought I'd better have a look at this thing, this creek gauge. I didn't even know what it was going to look like. I found the little creek gauge shed behind the pub. It still had all the flood debris on it. And then I created a spreadsheet of all the flood monitoring installations upstream of Lismore, and started to find out who owned them all, and ringing around to find out who owned these things. And that started a big journey of finding out about our flood monitoring system. I was very shocked by what I discovered, and I think there's general acknowledgement that the system had some very serious flaws. And I am feeling more confident now that we're really starting, particularly since Georgina is here, and I think that the bomb is starting to make, I think we're starting to pull together a much better system, but there's still a long way to go. So this is a map that a guy called Sven did of the creeks and streams converging on Lismore. There's a few little creeks down here near Alstonville that actually don't feed into our system. But you can see it's very complicated, but there's mainly, basically we've got water coming from the east in the Wilsons Creek, pouring in there, and we have a whole lot of streams converging into the Leicester Creek, and historically the really big floods have tended to be powered by the Leicester Creek. So this is the Terrania subcatchment. So this is where I live, and it's 3 creeks join up in the Shannon, Rocky Creek, Terrania Creek, and Tunnable Creek. And they join up in the Shannon, and when a flood is on, they cause a fair amount of mayhem when they join together where we live. We also get those very strange warnings when Rocky Creek Dam, we get those dam alert failures, and we're doing some work around that with Rouse and trying to get the dam spillway on the bomb so everyone can see in real time what's happening. Yep?
Are you talking about when we're told that the dam wall might break?
Yes.
Yes.
And the warnings come at when the water is at 1.8 metre over the spillway. The concern is that and the dam wall is higher than that, 1.8 metres. The concern is that if it rises so high that it goes over the dam wall, it is likely to erode the dam wall on the other side. It's never happened. It's unlikely to happen. However, we do get those warnings, and particularly for those of us who are right underneath that dam, it's very confusing to us. So, there's a bit of work being done to try and sort that out. Yeah. So you do need to be aware that it's highly unlikely that the dam is going to break. Yeah. Okay. So this is the Terania catchment. I just want to say something about that there have never been, a lot of people don't know this, the whole flood monitoring system is designed for river towns. It's all for river towns. People in rural areas just don't get flood warnings and never have. And it's great to hear that the Lismore City Council is now going to incorporate rural areas for the very first time to have the flood risk of rural people included in Lismore City Council's flood planning. So we decided that we were pretty much in DIY territory, that we needed to get data for our little catchment. I'm trying to go backwards here. Because if you think the catchment for Lismore is steep and short, which is part of the problem for Lismore, the problem for the Channon is way, way more problematic. It's only about 4 metres rising to the Channon from here. But if you go, say, 11k up the road, up Terania, you're rising another 150 metres. So our goal is to have sufficient data so that we know what's coming for us. And obviously, if we get that really good data, that is also good for Lismore. In 22, the most massive flood came down the Terania system virtually unmonitored. It was truly astronomical. We've never seen anything like it. So we hope to provide data for ourselves, for our own safety, and also that this will improve the data coming for Lismore. So, yep.
When you say about the warning system from the Catchment and whatnot, I had property out of Lilmingard, but go back 50, 60 years ago, we used to have the farmers bring in, and we got it over the radio. Why did they take flood warnings from all of the catchment area, all Lismore, out of the radio and fight them, and we've got to wait for your telemetry systems, which go underwater, they're on creek banks, and go out. I was watching the 22 flood, and I thought, oh well, yeah, it's stopped now, but I didn't know the telemetry system was underwater.
Yeah.
And still popping a lot of rain. Like,
yeah.
Poppies were ringing in, or farmers were ringing in to our local SES or radio station. We had more warning in those days, and that the SES, I know a couple of farmers who rang in SES, and they said, oh, you're a registered recorder. They said, no, but it's coming.
Yeah. Look, many people have made the same observations. People around the Channon tried desperately to let people know in Lismore that a catastrophe was heading for them. And the same problem, the creek gauge shed was submerged underwater, but it was rising, 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 rising. So the good news, there is some good news, which is that there is funds available for the flood monitoring system improvement. And so, for example, that gauge at the Channon, which will always get submerged in a major flood, it will always go underwater. It's going to be upgraded. It's going to be raised on some sort of platform. I'm not sure how this is going to work, but you know, it is going to be raised.
There's another one coming as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and also the BOM is going to put those gauges on the riverbank back in place so that we, the people in the village, can roster ourselves on, and we can read those levels. If the telemetry system is down, we can actually phone in or communicate to the SES what's actually going on. So there will be some redundancy. So these are some of the improvements that are happening. And I know it's very frustrating because it's probably not my place to talk about this. It's probably more the SES and Georgina. But I am actually feeling a bit more confident now having seen some of the improvements that are being put together. I just want to talk about, explain that these are some of the excellent humans who are actually doing this stuff. Here we are up at Tunbridge Falls Co-op. We had a bit of a field trip. This is somebody from AMU, Jeremy Smith, bringing a eco-wit rain gauge to install up there at Tunbridge Falls. We also experiment and have to have a CB radio network, because in one of these major events, one of the first things that will happen is that the power poles go over the, you lose your internet, your power and your phone. So we have experiment with our CB radio network, and that's all I have. So there's actually some very exciting stuff like this. We're going to have the human sentinels. These are people who are absolutely grounded in the place where they live. They know the place where they live. But we're going to have this new tech. Harper?
I just wanted to say to the point of the gentleman that was speaking to as well, one of the things that indicated me about the 2022 flood is seeing people, maybe yourself at the time, I can't remember, saying this is how much we've recorded and it's going to, it's coming to Lismore. So being aware of how your rain systems work, exactly what Anna's been talking about, it's really important to understanding kind of where your risk might be as well. And I think those updates are going to be fundamental.
Yeah.
But also if you could maybe just talk very briefly about that Facebook group where the rain catchments, everybody might want to join that, because I think that's a really good community initiative.
Yeah, Victoria Patel has a Facebook group which is called Northern Rivers Millimetres Catchment Watch, I think. And people make posts about their rainfall readings that they're getting in the catchment during events. Yes? I can't answer that second question. I'm not the SES, but I think Georgina should actually answer this question. So, I can say the terrain. One of the things that distressed me was that the Terrania rain gauge up there near the national park was not functioning during that event. That was devastating for us. In the Shannon and Kirrell Valley, but it was also very bad for Lismore not to have that data, because one of our people up there measured 930 millimetres in 18 hours with 3 overflow events. So, yeah. So, Georgina.
So yeah, first about the gauges. So all the gauges that we have in the Lismore LGA, there are 19. 2 of them are repeaters. So basically they're like antennas, and they repeat the information to a nearby antenna. They all have different ownership. So Lismore City Council owns some of them. Some of them are owned by BOM in conjunction with Lismore City Council and DQ, which is the Department for Climate Change, Environment and Water. Some of them are just owned by DQ. Just recently we signed 3 landowner agreements, basically giving permission to DQ, which is the Department of Climate Change, Environment and Water, to install 3 new gauges. One of them is the new gauge that is going to the Shannon. The existing one, the old one at the Shannon, is going to be raised and it's going to be replaced. So at the moment, there's 2 massive projects that are taking part of my time with BOM and DQ. One of them is the FWIM project, which is basically, they're looking at acquiring, so BOM, the Bureau of Meteorology, is looking at acquiring all of the council gauges and remove that burden from councils. At the moment, we're in discussions because we need to be, as councils, of course, we need to be satisfied that enough maintenance plans will be in place, that local people service these gauges. So if and when go underwater, that these get back up and running immediately. So we don't need someone to come from, Sydney to come fix a gauge, right? So this is one of our concerns, and we're working closely with them. The other project is a project that is being led by DQ, which is the Wilton Enrichment Catchment Improvement Project. This was a project that came up from the inquiry, the 2022 floods inquiry. And it's been, pretty much 3 years in the making, and it's just now getting traction. And like I said, 3 new gauges. One of them is Greens Bridge on the Goldmunker Creek. The other one is a Robert White Bridge, and the other one, I can't remember the name. But yeah, they are in the process of being installed, and there will be more. In respect to the other question, how many hours? I understand the question. The question cannot be answered because, again, it depends on the intensity of the rain. So you can get 150 millimeters in an hour, and that will be 100-year event for Lismore, or less. It depends. It depends on the catch. It depends. It's called frequency analysis, and so therefore you cannot anticipate how many hours until it gets to a certain point. It depends on how much water you get and where. It depends on the size and width and cubics per second, which is cubic meters per second of water that runs down the catchment, and whether or not there's anything in its way to block its path. It's very difficult to say, to model that, to say, well, it will take this amount of time without knowing the rainfall. So yeah, you need to know how much is raining, what the intensities are, how many for half an hour, 3 hourly intervals, for you to be able to assess that, to model that, and that will take hydrologist engineer that has done already a hydraulic assessment of the catchment and knows what the capacity is for the river to contain that water, and of course any piece of infrastructure like the levee. So going back to the rural warnings, well, before it, and as part of our floodplain risk management plan, we only had hydraulic modeling done for the Lismore CBD, basically, urban Lismore. Now that the preliminary LISA, which is basically LISA and aerial modeling, basically, and measurement of the catchment has been released by CSIRO, then we can take that information and do hydraulic assessment of the rest of the catchment for those rural areas that weren't part of for modeling before. But it's all based on, I understand your concerns, but at the same time, it's a very exact science. And when it comes to the weather, in Lismore, we're in a very particular area. So we are not only in a floodplain and confluence of 2 rivers, etc., places like the Catchment are at the bottom of the ranges. Naturally, and I can talk forever about rain, please talk to me about it because that's what I do. Naturally, in the ranges, it rains more. That's just the way it is. It happens here in New Zealand, in China. In the ranges, it will rain more. So at the moment, we don't have any gauges upstream, and that is a problem. And that is something that we're working very closely with Annie, BOM, the RA, Rouse, to rectify and try to get some gauges upstream. We also, weather-wise, we get all the hot air from the tropics, we get the Antarctic cold air, as those 2 masses of air collide. Everything that rises must come down, and they produce the thunderstorms that we're experiencing here.
So,
yeah, so,
Wilson's typically will affect that
Yeah, thanks for that. So, loads of questions still, but know this, all the speakers are still here. So we've got dinner, which is, we're probably all really eager to get. We've got dinner, we've got tables, we've got pens, we've got facilitators if you want to have a conversation about the things that concern you, and we also have the speakers who you might want to follow up, you know, with your particular questions. And also know that this is not the last one. In 2 weeks, we're having a People's Assembly, and in that event, we will focus on conversation together around these tricky questions and how we prioritise our actions. And we do have Reclaim Our Recovery has very quickly, we probably won't have time to talk much, but Trevor is here. Trevor is going to be a point person for this policy. So basically just announce it, go and have dinner if you want, if you need, and Trevor will talk.
Yeah, I'll try to be really brief. Look, I sort of live just across the road here, and during the flood it came up to here inside. This is about the highest part of South Lismore here. The 74 flood did not go on this screen, so we're quite, you know, I used to call it South Lismore Heights here, but it's not the case anymore. July last year, I got a phone call from the RA to say that I wasn't eligible for anything. And I know from talking to a lot of people who also live in South Lismore, but also the flooded areas all around the northern rivers, that most of us got told we weren't eligible for anything either. And we know that. I can see the heads nodding. I think that was a really poor mistake, because clearly we need to be able to move to higher ground as much as we can. We know that the climate is really changing quickly at the moment. Last year was the Earth's hottest year for 125,000 years. We know that the oceans are warming up really quickly. We know that the amount of evaporation that's happening is increasing. We know that floods are going to be more often and they're going to be bigger. And we know that because the scientists tell us that. So what we need to be doing is adapting to what's going on. That's what we need to be doing. So a lot of us need to go to higher ground. So the buybacks, the relocations to higher ground, all of that stuff needs to happen. We've come up with a policy that's kind of like part of that whole thing. It's not a comprehensive thing, but we're saying there's a hell of a lot of houses that got flooded that need to be raised, and they need to be raised to like 4 metres, something like that, right? We think it's probably the cheapest option for the government, because we know from the figures that they expressed in the 22 flood report, how expensive floods are. They're super expensive because there's just so many different things that have to be done, not just fix up, but you've got to fix people up, you've got to repair houses, you've got to repair roads, you've got to put stuff in the tip, or should we say in the Ipswich tip, yeah, so it's very expensive. So anything that so raising the houses, you're doing something where, you know, on steel posts that you would put 900 mil into the ground with a 600 mil of cement, concrete around it. It'll be a strong dwelling. And if it was raised to about 4 metres, that gives a fair amount of space for most places. Not all places, some there's going to have to be different policies developed, because as I was saying, this isn't just, you know, the only thing going on. But that's basically pretty well all I wanted to say, so thank you.
Thank you, Trevor. Okay, you'll be glad to know that we're almost ready for dinner. While you're eating, have conversations with each other. Make a donation if you'd like to. The reason we're doing this is to give us something to think about for when we have the second part of this process, which will be...
Stop bungling with the microphone.
What?
Don't move the microphone, please. It's doing this. Sounds like
How's
a river.
that?
It's like it's flooding.
Thank you. I need lessons in microphone technique. I was saying make a donation. Come to the assembly in the Red Dove on the 30th of November, and we will talk about this in more detail. And a short word on why we are doing the Lismore Peoples Assembly, which is why have it in the first place? Because we thought that if we wait for the government to do stuff, then nothing will ever happen. And the reason we're doing this particular get ready for emergencies thing is because we think if we leave it for the government, nothing will ever happen. So, eat, drink and be merry and make a donation.